In the Congress Hall of Abuja's Transcorp Hilton Hotel in Nigeria, preparations are in high gear for the official launch of Women's Situation Room ahead of the February 28 presidential polls in Africa's most populous nation.
Just so we can all be on the same maybe page or something, if we have like a club or something that gives us...
In another part of the hotel, young Nigerian women and men gather for last-minute orientation. These are the call operators who would be stationed in the Women's Situation Room on election day and beyond to answer to calls from the electorate at polling centers and elsewhere.
The level of peace in the society, look at the status of women in that society. Is a very indicative aspect. Any society that has well spelled out rights for women, that has an enabling environment for women's rights to flourish, is normally very peaceful.
Do as best as they can. But if you're inundated with calls, the line becomes blocked or whatever, we just have to manage the situation. In terms of the language, some people cannot speak English. You have to identify who speaks what and ensure that each team has at least one or two people who speak the 3 different languages.
After days of preparation, the official launching of the Women's Situation Room is finally here. The Women's Situation Room is a unique initiative started by the Angie Brooks International Center for Women's Empowerment, Leadership Development, International Peace and Security. It brings together eminent experience and career women to prevent or mitigate potential conflict leading to violence that could emerge before, during and after elections. It also ensures the active participation of women and youth in peaceful and democratic electoral processes as a peace and security measure in accordance with the UN Security Council Resolutions 1325 and 1820. The Women's Situation Room was first tested in October 2011 during Liberia's presidential and legislative elections, and subsequently in November this same year during the runoff polls which brought President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf to power. Following the success of that process, the Women's Situation Room model was used in Senegal for the 2012 presidential election and later to Sierra Leone the same year. It came to Nigeria through the Nigerian Women's Platform for Peaceful Elections in partnership with several organizations, particularly the UN Women, whose country representative highlighted the need for women's participation in peace process.
In Liberia, in Sierra Leone, in Senegal, in Kenya, and now Nigeria. Can we give ourselves a round of applause? So this situation room gives women the opportunity to have a better knowledge of election procedures and has contributed in many countries to build women's confidence to participate in political governance. We need the confidence. We need the awareness. We need to get out there. We need to speak. We need to come out as women to help men in the development process through elections. I'm very sure that the different presentations will highlight the origins of the Women's Situation Room and how its adaptation in Nigeria will contribute to women's knowledge and experiences in the election processes. We all know too well that the electoral violence of any nature reverses and slows down the process of democratization while increasing the cost of governance. It also affects credibility. Today in Nigeria, we do know that women are not fully represented in the House of Assembly in terms of numbers. We are sure that we must try and talk to women, creating awareness, evidence, so that they come out in large numbers at all levels for leadership positions.
As Nigeria's crucial presidential polls drew closer, the fears and concerns for electoral violence became bigger. And for the different speakers at the launch, peace and women's role in attaining peace are crucial.
The women's situation room of Nigeria is established entirely for several reasons. You will agree with me that the major challenges that have over the years confronted the democratization process in Africa have been the lack of transparency, fairness, and accountability, but also exclusion, manipulation, and intolerance in national elections. Unfortunately, these challenges have on some occasions generated into violent conflict, leading to the wanted loss of life and destruction of property in some African countries.
Gender-based violence in electoral process is not a new concept, but its current widespread existence has brought international focus to this problem in recent times. The Nigerian police support for electoral processes now plays a pivotal role during the election period.
From the official launch of the project, it's now time to launch the physical women situation room, where the eminent women would base throughout the electoral process.
This is the physical room of the women's situation room, and this is the call center. We have here the youth of Nigeria, who, as we told you, are an integral part of the women's situation room, without whom we can do nothing, without whom we want to do nothing, because it's important that they be a part of the women's situation room. And as you see here, they are the ones that will be taking the incident calls and conveying it to the eminent women for resolution. So we want to first of all thank you. Good afternoon, youth. Good afternoon. And thank you for being here and for being part of this.
It's election day, and these young call operators are working round the clock to record complaints, observations, and queries from polling centers and units from across the country.
My name is Jandido Max. As a call operator, my duty is to take calls from around the country with the toll-free number 0800 call WSR to report any violent incidents around the nation, and I will get release information and forward it to the women's situation room, and then the analysts to analyze and bring up solutions to these violent incidents.
It's a busy day for the eminent women too, as they receive guests throughout the day. Among the distinguished visitors is the Honorable Chairman of Nigeria's Electoral Commission, Professor Atahiru Jega.
I would like to commend you for an excellent job first of all, doing your best through the collaboration of other NGO and civil society organizations working on agenda, and particularly for establishing this situation to monitor the conduct of the elections and to pay more attention to the issues of gender as they relate to the elections.
Elections, as we hear, the stakes are high. Of course, now the temperature seems to be going down gradually, and every encouragement of a high turnout, particularly of women voters.
Good morning, Nigeria. I'm here to give a great message of peace. I think that this is an incredible election for Nigeria. It can be a turning point in your democracy, and so it's really critical to have three things happen in this election. It's got to be fair, free, and
all these eminent women and officials who gather here have worked incredibly hard in different functions on different parts of the continent to promote peace and women and youth participation in electoral processes. Their commitment to peace is an inspiration and a beacon of hope as Africa marches towards the future.
Definitely, the Nigerian population should remember Nigeria is first. That no politician is worth disturbing the sanctity of this country. They are going there for 4 years, 6 years, depending on whatever it is that they're running for. However, Nigeria is here. This is the one country that they have It's not worth it for any politician, especially a politician whose office you will go to afterwards. He will not even see 99% of you. He won't care what you've done or what you haven't done or what you want. And why would you disturb your community, etc. for this? Nigeria is not a backwards country. You are a democracy in the 21st century.
Of the Situation Room, we are assuring women and the authorities that women can do it, women can come out there and talk about what they need to be done, what has to be done in terms of election, and also participate fully. So in a nutshell, we are talking about the data. The baseline data is very, very critical because come next election, we'll have a database, but not even waiting for next elections. This is the beginning of really ensuring that we convince policymakers, the authorities, that what is happening to women in terms of violence should be dealt with and should be addressed.
I think my participation has been very effective. I believe that the work of the Women's Situation Room is a very useful piece of work for not just Nigeria, but for other African countries. I think we need to have an institution that works towards the empowerment, not just of women, but also of youths, but more importantly, as a monitoring team during elections, the Women's Situation Room looks at issues related to violence against women and violence against youth.
And I want to appreciate these women from diverse countries and backgrounds coming together to see that we succeed in this election. And it's a critical election in Nigerian history. I appreciate the association, all the organization, United Nations Women, the ABIC from Liberia, and all members of the Women's Situation Room working so hard so that there will be no violence in this election.
UN Women put a very strong focus on women's participation in political governance, because it's only when women are involved in political governance that we can ensure their representation in decision-making processes, and also that their needs are well taken care of by lawmakers, by state decision makers. That's why it is very critical for us that women have the experience of participation in electoral processes, because it will help them build the confidence they need to participate in political governance and to be candidates.
Women's Situation Room is to be replicated in as many countries in Africa as one of the best practice for election. I think they've done very well because they brought into the Women's Situation Room some novelties, like we have a desk for the police, we have a desk for INEC, and with that, the response, if a situation happened in the field and we want answers from the police, like if violence erupted in a certain state whilst they were taking part in the election, they report to us by phone to the Situation Room, and immediately we respond by finding the particular arm of government, either INEC or police, to tackle the situation. If they're in the room, it's of course easier and faster.
First of all, you have to come from understanding that peace is a fundamental human right. So if you come from that perspective of seeing peace as a fundamental human right, then you understand that peace is integral to our lives as human beings. And so for us in Nigeria and across the world, you can't talk about development, you can't talk about existence at all without having peace. And credible elections, free, fair elections, where everyone, irrespective of your gender, is given the opportunity to participate, and not just participating, but participating substantively, is a very long way to go towards having a peaceful process and coexistence.